Okay, so we're live in the Australian Property Chat on Facebook, and we're also recording this for our podcast, the George Markoski Show. Hello and welcome, Christina.
Hi, George. Thank you so much.
What are we going to talk about tonight? Before I go ahead, if you're watching this live, type in hashtag live, and for the people that are watching afterwards, type in hashtag, what's the other one?
Hashtag live, hashtag replay.
Hashtag replay. See, I've just...
If you're catching up on the replay, that is.
If you're catching up on the replay, absolutely, because then I know you've been watching, because I go check the messages and just see. Keep an eye on you. Anyway, our topic for today is how to cut your mortgage in half.
Pay less on your mortgage with this simple strategy.
Yeah, basically, let's cut it in half. Why don't we do that? So, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start the presentation and talk about that, because I'm going to go through the nitty gritty. And
I think tonight's training is going to be a very valuable one, because I hear that a lot of people are feeling like there's a lot of pressure in the household financially with being able to pay bills, school fees, all of life's expenses, especially the mortgage. It's probably the number one thing I hear people struggle with the most is their mortgage repayments.
yes.
So being able to see a smarter way of doing things instead of working harder and feeling like you've got to work longer, more hours, being able to do things smarter with the same amount of energy or less energy even, but just seeing a good way you can structure things to get what you've got working better, use your current assets and really leverage what you've got in place.
Yes. So what we're going to be talking about is working smarter, not harder. See, a lot of people think paying off their mortgage, this is what my parents did, is you don't go out for dinners, you get an extra job, you work overtime, you put more money in your mortgage, you try to pay it off. Now, that is actually counterproductive, because it's only going to get you ahead a tiny bit. Your mortgage is massive, right? And it's probably the biggest thing you're going to have to pay off in your whole life.
Biggest expense, absolutely.
Your biggest expense is tax. Your second biggest expense is your mortgage. That's the two biggest things. Now, if we can help you reduce the two biggest expenses in your life, how much is your life going to be better?
Will your life be easier?
Hell yeah, it's going to be easier. And that's what we do here. And I'm going to show you how to reduce the biggest expenses, right? That's what I'm going to do.
Yeah, and that's going to help get ahead financially a lot.
That's right. Because the old way of doing things, what they taught you in school, what the government teaches you, what the corporates want you to do is, and what the big banks is, they want you to be a wage slave. They want you to work for the rest of your life. And they want you to pay tax and consume and just do that for your whole life. But we're not about that. We're about more like the FIRE movement, financial independence, retire early, right? We're into creating a life where you get control, where the government doesn't control, you control it. So let me share my screen and start.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, also, I want to welcome all our new members, because I came along to the onboarding last week and we got 14 new members last week.
Yeah, welcome.
So welcome.
Very exciting.
Great. I'm really pleased and rapt that you're here. And I think we've got a few other people here today, and I'll get to, I'm going to personally meet you all once I finish this and go in our private group.
And it's great for you to be able to see our strategy around how to pay off those mortgages as one of your first trainings that we implement.
See, a lot of people, they want to purchase a property, right? Purchase an investment property. And they go out there, and different ways of doing it. And you go to different companies to buy a property. But what we do here, we go a little bit deeper, right? Because that's just the tip of the iceberg. But if you go deeper, there's 3 questions you need to ask. And these are the 3 questions that we ask and we diligently fulfill and help our clients with. And number 1 is growth. How do I buy high growth properties? Because if you want to create financial freedom, you need high growth properties. And that's the one thing I've been known for the last 20 years. You know, I've been picking the top 100. There's 15,000 suburbs in Australia. I've been picking the top 100 time and time again. I've been in the paper every year with my no-go zones and also what suburbs to invest in, because everyone comes to me for that advice, right? So that's what I'm known for. Number 2 is cash flow. How do I consistently put more money in my bank account? no point building a portfolio if you're not getting more money in your bank account consistently. And that's the other question we answer. And the third question is security. How do I protect my assets? Because really, if you haven't got asset protection, if you're not protecting assets, there's no point building a big portfolio. And I've got a massive portfolio and I've got it protected. And I'm going to show you how to do that. Not tonight, but I'm going to show our private members that. Tonight, we're going to be talking about how to cut your mortgage down. Because let's face it, if you're watching me and you're listening, you're a street smart investor. We believe street smart investors deserve money for life. And that's what we're here to do. We're here to create money for life. So how do I buy high growth properties? So there's different categories. So some people, they buy a property and they lose money, called negative equity. And then you've got other people, they buy a property and it doesn't do anything for 5 or 10 years. And I meet plenty of people doing that. And they're like, wow, I bought this and nothing happened. And then you got someone that bought a property, get average returns, they made a little bit of money, but nothing exciting. And then you got properties that consistently double every 7 or 10 years. And these are the properties that we want to buy because you need your property not just doubling the next 7 or 10 years, but doing it year after decade after decade. Cash flow, right? Some people buy a property and they're losing so much on land tax, it's negative, and they're losing a lot of money. Then you got people that are going money pit. They're, not as bad as going broke, but it's a money pit. And we've had people come and join our program that had money pits and we converted them and turned them around. Then some people, they're like, yeah, I'm really good at investing, and they're getting like $5 a week pocket money because they don't know how to structure it. But really, what you want to do is you want your properties to create a passive income. And that's what we're about. And Dave and Louise, they joined our program 4.5 years ago, and they've now actually retired. And the reason they retired is because they created the passive income. And now they've got a Winnebago van, they're cruising around the world, and it's really cool. So security, how can I protect myself? Do you have a house of cards? Did you get a bargain basement asset protection? Is it isolated risk, or do you have a bomb shelter? And really what you need is a bomb shelter. So this is the full method that I'm going to show you. So the Markoski method. In the middle, you've got money for life. And to get that, you've got growth, cash flow, security. The number one thing you need for that is access. And that's why Positive Property is part of a buyer's group. We're a buyer's group and we get access because if you don't have access, with access, you go from being vulnerable to creating a legacy. And then you need strategy. This is the strategy you learn on our program. And you go from being mediocre at investing or hopeless to becoming a master, to true mastery. And then you got leverage. And leverage is from rolling the dice to certainty because you've got the right team that's going to make sure you make the right move every time. Because if you don't have access, then you've got an opportunity. You can't get the right property. You're with everyone else going on realestate.com and Domain, hoping for the best. If you've got no strategy, you're not going to create a nest egg. And if you've got no leverage, you're not going to get the speed or the certainty. So these are the 9 accelerators: asset protection, market advantage, buying power, being part of a group, so you never overpay for a property ever again, buying the top 100 instead of any suburb in the 15,000, mortgage freedom, which we're talking about tonight, this section here, and tax, getting your tax back. I'm going to talk about tax as well because tax and mortgage, they work together in tandem. And then you've got your due diligence. You need to know your due diligence because if you don't get your due diligence right, you could get the wrong property. And then using other people's money. The rich use other people's money. That's what we use to grow our portfolio. I'm building 126 properties this year. Now, I couldn't do that if I wanted to do it all myself with my money. I'm using the bank's money. And the reason they give me the money is because they trust me. They know I've done very well at this and I can do it. It's all about getting their reputation. And then expert execution. So how do you convert your tax dollars into property? Because that's the first part we're going to talk about in order to get your mortgage paid off. Okay. First, it's all about structure and tax deduction, right? Because you can actually save up to $80,000. Actually, it's more, about $90,000 now.
Wow. That's awesome.
Per property, if you do it right.
Right. So why has it gone up, George? Just quickly.
Okay, so the reason it's gone up is because depreciation's gone up. And
Okay.
because the property prices we're buying in are up. And you'll see this presentation. We've updated the figures and it's really good.
Awesome.
So the house you live in, your own occupier, this is everyone's Australian dream. If anyone in Australia had a dream, it would be to own your own house. And I think it's a lovely dream. It's great. But like we said before, this is going to be the most expensive thing you buy in your life. And it's going to be the hardest thing to pay off. And the reason being, you can see here, you got super, your tax. Then you got all your expenses from your net wage. And then you got to pay everything what's left over, which is not much for most people, into this mortgage. It's very hard to do. And usually takes people 30 years to pay this off. Now, if you get an investment property, the game has changed because what happens is we can get money out of your tax and the tenant to pay for most of your property. And that way, little or nothing out of your own pocket. So what can happen then is you can get an investment property, get the taxpayer and tenant to pay for it and keep buying more because they're paying for it. The old school way is people like, oh, I'm going to buy a house and when I pay it off, I'm going to buy investment property. Well, that's in 30 years' time. And your investment property you wanted to buy has gone up so much, you can't afford it in 30 years, right? So the old school way of doing it is impossible. People that want to pay off their debt and everything, it's not going to work. What you got to do is use leverage. Without leverage, you got nothing. So get a tenant and taxman to pay. So what we do is use depreciation. So depreciation is, so for example, in a business, if you buy something for your business, plant and equipment. So let's say, for example, I've got a cafe, which I do actually. I've got an Italian restaurant in Australia, so it's a good one. And what we did, funny enough, when I first started my restaurant, we bought a pizza oven from Melbourne. We had the first wood oven pizza oven. It was massive, and it's wood, the old Italian style, and it was a big one, and we had it as a feature in the restaurant, right? And we spent $25,000 in this oven. That was back in 1997, which is a lot of money. And a lot of people said, you're crazy. You can actually buy a gas oven that automatically cooks pizzas for like $500.
Yeah, but it's not the same. It doesn't taste the same.
No, but it doesn't look the same either. But everyone's like, George, you're crazy. Why are you investing so much money in the pizza oven? And I said, it's not a pizza oven. It's an experience. It's something that, it's a destination. Because I had Spargo's in Westfield Marion in Adelaide. And the pizza oven was huge. And it was such a destination. We had crowds. We had lineups for 20 years straight. People used to line up to buy food from us. So was it a great investment? Yes. But not only that, because it was an oven and we used the oven for business, we got to depreciate it because it went down in value.
Part of the fit out. Yeah.
Yes. And the thing is, who wants to buy a used oven? Not many people. And really, it's worth nothing once we finish with it because who's going to carry it out? It's a massive oven. It's hard. So what happens is because your equipment when you work goes down in value, you get to depreciate it, right? Which is good. So if you lose money, you get a tax deduction. But think about this. What do the rich do? The rich don't actually lose money on purpose to get a tax deduction because they're smarter than that. They're rich. That's why they're rich, right? And I'll tell you what the rich do. The rich lose money on paper instead of losing it in real life. Because when you buy a car for business or an oven for business, you're actually losing money in real life. It's going down in value. But bricks and mortar is a tax deduction. So is the fit out and so are the loan costs for your property. So these are all tax deductible, but your house is actually going up in value, but you're depreciating it. So this is like having your cake and eating it too. It really is the one time you can do that. And really, for the average Australian, there's not many ways you can save money on tax. They've cut everything out. It's impossible unless you're really losing money. This is the one way you can do it and make money at the same time. So not all properties are suitable. So if you get a property worth $584,000 pre-1985, you get zero. Built 2000, you get 9,000. Built today, 13,692. Right? Now, so you get 13,962 in the first year and around about 80, 90,000 for 10 years.
Nice.
Now, what we do, we're going to be smarter than that because getting money back, depreciation in the year is good, but cash flow. See, a lot of people say cash is king, but what we say here is cash flow is king because that's really the real king. So what we do is we do an income tax withholding variation. It's a long word, but it's very powerful. And most people don't know about this. Not even a lot of accountants know about this. That's the funny thing. We actually got accountants joining our program doing this. And a lot of people go to the accountant and go, can we do this? And the accountant's like, what? What are you talking about? So then what you do is you get a depreciation schedule from a quality surveyor. These have been approved by the government to do a depreciation schedule. And then you get a letter from the government, and then that gets approved. And the letter gets sent to an employer, and then you get money back in your pay on a weekly basis. Because we all know money shrinks. So if you get it on a weekly basis, you're actually getting more money. So if I wait to the end of the year to get my 14%, I've actually lost 14,000. I've lost about 10, 15%. I'll tell you why. There's a thing called inflation. But on top of that, there's money printing. So the government normally prints an extra 15% of the money every year. So that means even when there's no inflation, your money is dropping 15% because there's more money available. So if I wait to the end of the year to get my 14 grand, I'm really getting a discount and only getting about 12 grand, 12 and a half grand, instead of getting the full 14 because I get it on a weekly basis.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Every little bit extra.
It all adds up.
Well, the reason it adds up because we're talking over 30 years, right? Over 30 years, everything we can save you and every extra you make is massive. So normal pay, if you get 2,000 a week, your net pay is going to be 1,536. And the ATO are going to take a big chunk, 464. Now, if you get a tax variation, our net pay is going to be 1,658. The ATO are only going to take 342, and we're going to get an extra $122 a week in our pay packet. Now, I'm curious, out of the people listening or watching this, who would love an extra $122 in their pay every week for making
Put a dollar sign in the chat.
Yeah, because I think this is pretty exciting. I mean, 122 a week, that's over 5,000 a year. That's, doing a bit of Uber driving every night, whatever it is, you know what I mean? So really, at the end of the day, we've got two choices. We could just keep giving our money to the tax department, the old school way, or what we can do is invest our money in positive property and convert our tax dollars into property.
Yeah, it makes a lot more sense.
Yeah. So how does it work in real life? Have a look at this property. Let's say you're buying a property for around $575,000. What's going to happen is, this number's wrong. It's going to be around about 590,000 when you add legals and stamp duty and all the other costs. So what's going to happen is we're going to get 540 rent, 122 tax variation, which equals 662 income weekly. Then 535 bank interest plus $175 in costs equals 710 outgoing weekly. So this one here is negative $48 cash flow per week.
We've had a great question. What do you do with the extra $122? Do you save the money?
No, we're going to show you exactly where to put every cent you've got at the end of this presentation.
You can leverage it and get it working for you further.
Yep. So this property that you're buying for $575,000 is going to cost you less than $50 a week to own a property. And that's just in the first year. Because what happens is your rent goes up each year and that minus 48 goes lower and then it becomes positive. And that's the way it works. I mean, who can afford $50 a week watching this?
That's like a coffee a day.
Yeah, it's 2 lattes a day.
Depends on the size.
Yep. Where do you get the deposit? Well, we've got cash, we've got equity in your home, we've got super, we've got joint venture. You can sell your toys. We had a client called Mark, and he had zero deposit, but he had a jet ski, a spare car, a hotted up Commodore, and some other stuff.
It's
I got-
crazy how many liabilities he had laying around the place.
yeah. Anyway, I got him to sell those. He bought a property. He bought another. Now he's got $1.5, $2 million worth of property. And now he can buy those toys again if he wants to. I don't know if he has. And then other assets that you can sell that are not as good as property. You know, your Bitcoin, your shares, some artwork you've got, your Pokemon collection, that sort of stuff.
Thanks, Adam. Yes, lattes are $6 now. That's
There
what
you
I was saying.
Or you could be really nice to your parents if you're young. We've had a lot of people do that. But there's different ways you get a deposit. Cash is not the only way. Now, using your home equity, if you've got a property worth 575 and it owes 300, then you've got a lazy equity of $275,000 sitting there. You literally, there's a pile of money in your living room. If you've got a mortgage, there's a pile of money in your living room, you can use to create wealth today. And my favorite way of investing is using my equity and not my cash, because then you're getting a bigger return. Now, let's get to the mortgage. This is what everyone here is here to do. This is the
Yes,
old,
getting to the meat of the sandwich now.
yes, yes. So we've just learned how to get our tax dollars back, and this is going to help us with our mortgage. So what's going to happen is, instead of the old school way of doing it like this, we're going to do it like this. So rapid mortgage reduction. $500,000 house, $350,000 loan at 7%. Principal interest is $19.90 per month. Now, that $19.90 per month stays the same every month for the life of the mortgage. Never goes down. But what we're going to do instead, we're going to do interest only. There's only going to be $14.90. That extra $500, we're not going to go to the casino with that. We're going to put in an offset account. We're going to get our wages, put that in there as well. Then we're going to get a credit card, that 30 to 55 days interest free. And you're going to pay your groceries, petrol, restaurant, bills, and living expenses all on your credit card, which means that your groceries, petrol, restaurants, and bills and everything else is sitting in your offset account, paying it for mortgage for 30 to 55 days. Now, this is very powerful because you keep doing this and your expenses are actually literally saving you interest at the same time. Then we pay off the credit card, pay it in full. And just by doing this, your loan will be paid off in 11 years, saving you 19 years. Now, the banks aren't going to show you how to do this, obviously, and they probably don't want you to do this, but because you're going to save a lot of money. So if you look at this graph, the red is what you would have paid with your current loan, but you look at the blue mortgage reduction and look at the difference. And you can see every 30 to 55 days, the little thing that goes up and down, that's when the mortgage gets taken out and come back. So on this example, you're going to save $254,000. The banks probably don't want you saving that sort of money because then there won't be the four richest banks in the world. The Commonwealth Bank is one of the most amazing, richest banks in the world. Now, how do you reduce it even lower? Well, what we do is we get the equity, like we said before, and we buy a property, and then the rent goes through this account. Now, you saw that example. That property was minus $48 per week. And you're probably thinking, well, getting investment property that lose $50 a week is not going to help you pay off a mortgage. Wrong. It is. Because what we're going to do is all your rent's going to go into your offset account. And then what's going to happen is we're going to get your depreciation. That's the extra $122 going in your offset account. But not only that, what happens is all your expensive investment property use a credit card, and we still keep that in there as well for 30 to 55 days. So each investment property takes a year or two off your mortgage, even if it's not positive. But when it becomes positive, it happens even quicker. And we had one client, she paid off her mortgage in 4.5 years, buying just one investment property. And then you get another, and you keep going. And really, this is what it's all about. It's rinse and repeat. You do it once successfully, and then you duplicate it exactly the same. It's not rocket science. It's simple, but it's also hard at the same time. That's why we've got a team around you to help you. So really, at the end of the day, this is what we want to do. This is the 10 in 10 positive property formula. You want to get 10 properties, $500,000 each. Now they're $575 each, but I don't want to change the number because then I can't do the calculations. 10 properties at $500,000 is going to give you $5 million equity in 10 years. So the goal is to get 10 properties in 10 years at a yield of 5% income. That would be $250,000 passive income per year, going up 5 to 7% every single year. The 5 million is going up, and so is the 250,000 going up. So let's recap. We can do it the old way and pay full tax and let broke at age 65. Or we can swap our tax for high growth passive cash flow assets. We can claim the depreciation, do an ITWV, more money in your weekly pay packet, lower our tax to virtually zero legally, power for home in half the time, save hundreds of thousands of dollars interest payments to the bank, and build a passive income that goes up every single year. That's it. That's my presentation.
Fantastic. Yes. So to answer the question we had
Now,
earlier.
we're going to go through Q&A now, okay?
Yes.
We're going to do a Q&A, do that, and then we're going to go in our private group, which we're already in here anyway.
Absolutely. Yes.
But Christina, I'll leave you to ask the questions, and then we'll answer them together.
Yeah, absolutely. So to answer the question we had earlier, what do you do with the extra $122? Do you save the money?
Yes, you do, but in your offset account. So
you put it in the offset account. That's
so
right.
basically, you've got good debt and bad debt. Your good debt is your investment properties. Your bad debt is your owner-occupier because you're not getting any help or tax deductions. So what we do is on the program, the one thing we want to pay off first before anything else is your owner-occupier. That's your number one goal, right? But the goal is to build a property portfolio and then slowly pay that off as well. So then what we do is we're going to put get an offset account on owner-occupier. We're going to put every cent in there. So every time you make money, you put it in there. Everything. You just keep piling it up. Then whenever you buy anything, you use credit card to buy it. So therefore, that money is still in your offset account for another 30 to 55 days.
Nice.
We really want to maximize that as much as we can. And that's going to reduce your loan right down. It's going to pay it off quicker. It's going to cut down the interest you pay. You're going to save a lot of money. And then we're going to use that money in the offset account at the beginning to buy more properties. And then we'll keep filling it up from the other properties until we get enough properties. Because really, at the end of the day, the number one goal should be, if you haven't done this already, your number one goal should be replace your income through property. Your number two goal is to pay off your mortgage. It's not your number one goal. That's the deal. Because people get it wrong. People think their number one goal is to pay off their mortgage. It's not your number one goal. Your number one goal is to get your passive income working for you, because then you can get that working for you anyway, paying off your mortgage. Because once I had enough passive income, my investment properties pay off a mortgage for me. I don't have to do anything, right? When I bought the house on the beach, I didn't buy a massive owner-occupier when I didn't have enough investment properties. I had enough investment properties, so I didn't have to pay a cent. So even though I got a beach house worth probably 5 or 6 million, I don't pay nothing for that because my investments pay for it. Otherwise, it cost me a lot of money. You imagine the mortgage on $6 million. That'd be a lot of money.
Yeah. Now, because we are running out of time, George, are we going to head on over to our private group now?
We certainly are right now.
Excellent. Fantastic.
Yeah, this is where we can talk real deep.
Yeah, beautiful.
More personal stuff. So,
just let us know, Kimberly, once the live stream's
cut off the live stream. Thank you everyone on the live stream. But now we're going to the private group, and this is where we get to the real stuff.